Come join us in the kitchen today for something a little different. Today I'm going to be focusing on making homemade dog food and cat food. I know that we're so busy focusing on making sure that we're prepared for ourselves. We need to make sure that we are prepared for our four-legged family members as well. With all the recalls they're doing and just so many pets are getting sick because the quality ingredients in pet food has just gone downhill. We want to make sure that we have stuff on hand to please them. And we're also going to make some food for the humans in the house too. So come join us. Let's get started. Bee is looking at these two dogs like you guys are total idiots. They always get hyper and start doing zoomies, and she doesn't even flinch. For breakfast this morning, we're going to make egg in a hole. I'm going to just tear a piece of bread out of the middle, and then I'm going to put some butter in a skillet and just kind of make sure that all sides get coated. Then you just break an egg in the middle and let it go a little bit. I'm going to add some of this Asiago cheese, everything bagel seasoning, and then we're going to put some avocado on top of it and give it a good mash. Top it off with some Julios and breakfast is served. I just remembered that I had some store credit that I need to use at CVS, so I went and got a candle and then some hair scrunchies that were on sale for 75% off. By the time it was all said and done, and we used all our coupons, it brought our total down to $1.42. I actually have a scarf that's a CVS receipt. They are so obnoxious, but I saved 94%. Before it gets too hot in the summer, Corey and I are way past due on this project of replacing our storm drains. When we had our roof replaced about a year ago, it's been that long since we've replaced the drains, and here comes El Chapo. I had to slow that down so you could see him. He's so cute. But anyway, I just helped Corey with getting this drain up.
I'm going to do the downspout. Just got to cut a short piece of pipe, put it up there. And then these are gutter guards. They go up under the shingles and onto the gutter. That way it keeps all the leaves and pine needles out of the gutter.
And how much did the guys who replaced our roof want to charge you to put the gutters back up?
Anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000.
And what did you end up spending?
$220.
Got your little helper over here.
Yeah.
Right, Hazel? You said you're going to have to move the cameras?
Yeah, I think the camera's going to have to go.
I asked Corey if he could take a break, but he wanted to keep going, and I had to get dinner started. For dinner tonight, we're going to make spinach and feta stuffed salmon patties on the grill, and Corey is going to sprinkle a little Julios on it, as well as some Old Bay seasoning. Next, we added all the fixings, and dinner was served. It was delicious. For an evening snack, I was dying to try this baked lemon ricotta, which is actually just cheese, but everybody swears it tastes like cheesecake or pound cake, and it was delicious. It did not disappoint. My evening ended just like my day began, with these two knuckleheads running around acting the fool. I know y'all probably think that the only meals I ever do are dump and go slow cooker meals, but I promise you that's not the case. Having said that, we are doing a dump and go slow cooker meal today. I'm going to be making a Mexican roast with a birria sauce, so let's get started. This is such a simple recipe. We're just going to put a roast in the slow cooker, along with some chopped up onions, garlic, Mexican oregano. I'm going to put a little bit of the adobo Better Than Bouillon, some Mexican seasonings, cumin, a little bit of water, and then I'm going to just spread these onions out. But the main ingredient is this birria sauce. I just add the whole jar We're going to let this go on high for 6 hours. I'm going to be making some homemade cat food and dog food today, and I want to preface this video by saying I'm not a veterinarian. I am not a pro at this. This is something I'm going to be doing for the first time as just kind of a test. I'll see how my pets react to it. With cats and dogs, you need different ingredients to meet their needs. We're going to make just a basic recipe, and we're going to have their over-the-counter cat and dog food on standby if they do have some kind of reaction to this food that I'm making. If you find a good deal on ground turkey or tuna fish, I think it's always better if you're able to make homemade, because what they're selling now in the stores is just crap. A lot of it's being recalled. In fact, the dog food that we usually feed our dogs, Pedigree, has been recalled because it had pieces of metal in it. And we looked up the serial numbers or the barcode, and it does not apply to the batch that we bought, but it's still not comforting. I mean, seriously, what is going on? They're using less quality ingredients. It's more expensive. Dogs are losing a lot of fur. They're licking their paws more frequently. They're itching like they have chronic skin rashes. And the cats have been vomiting more recently. Whether or not it's fur balls because they're losing their winter coat, I don't really know, but they are starting to vomit more frequently. So some of the ingredients we already had on hand, so I'm going to use up what I've got. But I spent $18.76 at H-E-B. I could have probably found it cheaper at our discounted grocery warehouse or maybe Costco or Walmart or something, but H-E-B is just where I happen to be. Our dogs weigh anywhere between 10 pounds and about 50 pounds. So we might need to get out our gram scale and just measure the portions appropriately. So at this moment, I don't know how much this is going to make. For the cat food, I needed some low sodium chicken broth. So I just got this unsalted chicken broth here. And I needed some kind of fish oil. And I know they sell that by itself, like at the Asian market or whatever, but they didn't have it at H-E-B. So we got a couple of cans of tuna in their oil. We'll just use about a tablespoon of oil from that. You're going to need some grains. We heard from our veterinarian that you shouldn't be serving your dogs rice, or they should have grain-free food. So I don't know how true that is. For the carbohydrate, we're going to use lentils. You're going to need some protein. So for the cat food, I'm going to be using this organic chicken breast. For the dogs, I'm going to be using this ground turkey. For the vegetables, some recipes will say use broccoli and cauliflower, but I know that some pets can experience gassiness from those vegetables. So I am going to use some peas and carrots. I'm also going to be using this cat recipe premix that has some amino acids in it. And then this is an all-in-one daily essential powder for dogs and cats. So we'll be using some of this in the dog food. It's pretty hard to go on the internet and find two recipes that are the exact same. So I am going to include the two recipes that I got inspiration from in the description box below. We are going to make a slight modification to the ingredients I showed you earlier, and I'm going to add some of these freeze-dried sweet potatoes instead of the lentils. Now, one of the popular diets is a raw diet, which I can't quite get behind. We do feed Hazel freeze-dried raw dog food, but I'm not going to cook this all the way. I'm going to do kind of a medium rare, which it's hard to tell with turkey, ground turkey, because it's kind of pink anyway. While the meat is cooking, we are going to go ahead and rehydrate about a cup of the sweet potatoes. I am also going to throw in some freeze-dried spinach. We already have enough amino acids and iron in the supplements that we'll be adding, but I'm just going to add this for a little bit of color, 1/3 of a cup. To me, it just doesn't seem safe serving this raw. I just think of all the bacteria.
He says the raw stuff's better for him, but
I don't know,
you can cook it fully. I don't care.
let me just get
They
most
don't care.
of the pink out. Next, we're going to add a couple of eggs to this. This will give it some additional protein, and it will balance out the amino acid profile. And you want to kind of cook this in, so just put it in as soon as you're done with the meat. And I did not drain the meat, by the way. I don't know if it's necessary that we add the eggs, because again, we've got those supplements, and I think they have everything needed. So we can just use the basic ingredients, the carbohydrates, the protein, and the vegetables. You can use the shells. You can bake them for about 10 minutes and then grind them up if you're not feeding your pet bone. You can just grind it up like in a little coffee grinder or something, and that will be good for them as well. Next, for the good fats, I'm going to put a tablespoon of coconut oil. You can also use sunflower oil. Since we did not drain the turkey, I don't know if it would have mattered if we put the coconut oil in when it was still cooking. For the next step, we would have added the eggshells all ground up. But again, we've got the supplements which have the calcium in them that you could have got from the shells. Next, I'm going to drain the excess water from these rehydrated vegetables that were freeze-dried. We'll use the lentils next time. That's one thing you want to remember when you're making homemade cat and dog food, is to make sure that you are rotating it out so it doesn't get bland and boring for your pets. I probably should have cut these sweet potatoes up prior to rehydrating them, but I wanted to make sure they were in smaller bite-sized pieces for the dogs. As I mentioned, the sweet potato is being used for the carbohydrate, not the vegetable. So we are going to add about a cup of carrots. We didn't want to throw off the balance of the vegetable ratio in this dog food, and since I already put spinach in there, I only did 1/2 of a cup of peas. I did not add any seasoning to this recipe. There's certain seasonings you're supposed to avoid. I think you should not do raw onions, raw garlic. But again, I think it just depends on what recipe you use. I think you can add pepper if you want. Turmeric is another good one. We're going to feed Layla first. She's our biggest dog, and she is going to need a cup of this dog food. So for Layla's weight, we are supposed to do 2 teaspoons of this. They say you're supposed to double it the first, 2 weeks? Is that what you said?
3 weeks.
3 weeks of using this. So this should include any of the hemp seed, the eggshells, the flax seed, all that. So we are just going to sprinkle a little bit of the mixture on top and just kind of give it a good mix. And we're going to give it to Layla first. As you can see, she's very excited. And it looks to be a big hit with Layla. Okay, so next we're making Charmin's bowl. I would say she probably weighs about 15 pounds. Charmin is excited to eat too. By the looks of it, you would think we never feed these dogs, but they just get really excited to eat. So it looks to be a big hit with Charmin. We saved the best for last. We're going to do little Hazel's. She weighs about 10 pounds. Unlike our other dogs that are pigs and actually eat their own poop, Hazel is a very picky eater. She's very dainty, and she just grazes throughout the day whenever she's hungry. So this video was sped up, but she ate most of it. I think she was hamming it up for the cameras because she saw how excited her sisters got to eat the food. Now Hazel doesn't eat just to eat. She has to be hungry. She is the only one who is on this Nature's Blend, Dr. Marty's, and it is a raw, freeze-dried food. So we'll continue to give this to her. We've been getting pretty good results with her not itching as much and not having so many hot spots and losing all her fur. This was the dog food we had left over. This is probably enough for Charmin and Layla to each have a pretty generous serving. Just for reference, we made a smaller batch. We just wanted to kind of test it out first. Now we're going to work on the cat food, which thankfully is a lot easier than the dog food. Cats are pretty much carnivores. We don't need to do any kind of grain or carbohydrate, no vegetables. They're just meat eaters. We are going to boil the chicken. We're going to go ahead and just do like a chicken tuna combo. We usually just do tuna and water for ourselves, but we bought tuna and oil because a lot of recipes call for some kind of fish oil. What we're going to do is just not drain this. We're going to put it in the mixture, and then we're going to add the cat premix to all of it. Now this will be different than the dog food. The dog food, we sprinkled it on top of each serving, but this we're actually going to mix in. For reference, this chicken is a little over a pound. We're just gonna boil it for about 15 minutes. I know that this has been a chaotic mess because we started out following one recipe and then we improvise and end up doing our own thing. One of the recipes I was looking at called for the low sodium chicken broth, but then we ended up just winging it, taking a bit and a piece from like the recipe on the back of the mix and then something else I saw online. Since we're not using any seasoning, we're gonna add about 1/4 cup of this chicken broth. The recipe that Corey read said that it's best to use ground meat. Not beef, but poultry, I guess. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this in really small bite-sized cubes that our cats will be able to eat. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put the undrained tuna in its oil into a bowl, and then we're going to add the diced chicken, and we're going to give it a good mix. Now we're adding about 3/4 of a cup of the Vitamix, and then I'm going to add some of the chicken broth to thin it out and give it flavor.
Serving size on this is 1/4 cup. We got 4 cats.
B is the first one we're going to give this to. She is a picky eater, so she probably won't eat much of it. Our boy cats are totally different. Otis definitely gives us 2 paws up. Let's check on Bowie and see what he thinks. Yep, he gives it 2 paws up as well. Alright, now Winston's ready to eat. Let's see what he thinks. Yep, I think he approves.
Yeah, I think that all the cat food and dog food turned all right. The cats like it, the dogs liked it. And overall, it's not as cheap as buying dog food, but it's more healthy. I think it'd be a lot easier if we just had fewer animals, but feeding 7 animals of cooked food is just unrealistic. It ain't gonna happen.
It definitely was hard. I'm sure it gets easier as you get familiar with making homemade cat or dog food. It's very confusing with all the conflicting articles out there, YouTube videos about add this, don't add this. So for the cat food, we have this much left. This should be another several days. Definitely the cat food was easier to make than the dog food. Quicker, cheaper. It is good to know because I remember in 2020 when all the shelves were empty and there was all the supply chain issues. I remember cat food and dog food was hard to come by. If you are prepping for your family, you need to make sure that you're including your 4-legged family members. Between the storms and the floods and losing power in our community every week, I make it a point to go check the blessing box every few days to see what they need. I am going to be gathering some things to take to the blessing box. I'm also going to be working on decluttering my pantry and getting it to a more reasonable, manageable space for me. We're in the beginning phases of downsizing, and when Corey retires in a couple of years, we look forward to moving on to an RV full-time and traveling the country to see where we might land and set our roots up. I grabbed a couple of these Bear Creeks. These are so easy and they go a long way. You can actually make like 8 servings of this, I believe. So we've got a creamy wild rice, a chicken noodle, and a creamy potato, some ramen noodles, a cooked ham, some tuna, white chicken chili, chicken breast, Polish sausage, white gravy. When Olivia was on her kick of eating green bean casserole and egg drop soup, she loved these French fried onions. I bought a bunch of them. I don't want them to go stale, so I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple of the French fried onions, the garlic pepper flavored one, red pepper. I had mentioned before that I would like to get rid of a lot of the processed stuff and make room for more canned goods like vegetables and fruit, soups, meats. But anything that's like crackers, chips, as you can see, I'm emptying this space out. Olivia was in a big oatmeal kick a while back. She's just all of a sudden come to a complete halt and does not eat oatmeal anymore. She was a big fan of cream of strawberry, cream of whatever fruit. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of the oatmeal, a mango cinnamon roll. So the birria roast is done and we are going to eat it as tacos today. And tomorrow we'll have birria ramen. First we're going to pull the roast out and just shred the meat up real fine. And we pulled the onions out too. I was nibbling on those while he was cutting up the meat. Then you take the tortillas. We use corn and you just dunk it in the birria sauce. And we ground up some of this double smoked cheddar from Aldi. This is our current favorite cheese. I love it so much. And then we're going to just get some of the birria sauce to dip our tacos in. This is easily one of my favorite dinners. I love leftovers even more when we make the birria ramen. I decided to make up a little batch of Reese's Pieces peanut butter cookies. And yes, I know they're pre-made. It's probably cheaper to make them from scratch, but sometimes when life gets hectic, you just want something that's easy to just pop in the oven and be done with it. My kiddos like these miniature chocolate chip cookies. I didn't really make an outro to this video. It's just been such a crazy week. I'm sure you can tell by my voiceovers. I've been going through a cold and it's been running through my family. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Have a blessed weekend.